Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to go over the production of the Capsim Capstone project. If you've not already checked out my marketing video where I've explained how to do the unit sales forecast, please check that out. I'll provide a link in the description and also on the I button. So please check that out and come back to this video. Now let's begin with how to determine the production schedule. First, look at the unit sales forecast value, then look at the inventory on hand. Inventory on hand means the units unsold from your previous rounds. If you have zero in this inventory on hand, it means that you have stocked out and you don't have any product to sell in that segment. But if you have more than 200, here I have 458, which means it's looking bad and you have a lot of inventory and you have not sold the product. Also, you need to make sure your product specifications are meeting the customer expectations, and that's how you will get the confidence that you will be able to sell your products or stock out your products. So, you look at these two values and you look at your quality of the product, the specifications, and then you have to match this last row value, that is production after adjustment, along with the first two rows over here. What I mean to say is, you need to enter a value in this box such that the first row and the last row becomes equal. For example, here I have inventory on hand as zero. But if I had some inventory here, I would add up unit sales forecast along with the inventory on hand, and then I would adjust the production such that the total of this equals the production after adjustment. Please look at my cursor. The total of the first two would be equal to this value. So you need to make a trial and error and put a value here so that that becomes equal. For example, you can see here in the Gape product, my prediction was 940, so that my final result production after adjustment comes up to 931. And why did I do that? Because 931 plus my inventory on hand, that is 458, will add up to this value, almost the same value. Why I did not make it equal is because I didn't want to overestimate. I would always prefer if my products are stocked out rather than having too many inventories on hand. And I can see from my previous round that my predictions were off, and that's why I was not able to sell 458 of my products, which is a lot of inventory I don't want to have on hand. So I would rather produce less inventory and stock out. But another point to keep in mind is that you will lose points in your balance scorecard if your products stock out, or if your products are still remaining in the inventory for a lot, like a lot of numbers are remaining, you will lose points. So you have to make sure that you have some inventory on hand. 2 is good, 149 is still good, but don't let it cross above 200. And stock out, it was fine for me because that's how I was going through all my rounds. I would prefer losing points on stock out than to have a lot of inventory on hand. Now that we've understood the first part of the production, let's move on to the second part, which is margins. Here you have something called a second shift production. And then you have labor cost, material cost, total unit cost, contribution margin. We've already spoken about contribution margin in the previous video as well as this video. So let's cover the rest of the things. Second shift production, click on your eye and read through it. What it says is that it costs you 50% premium, 50% extra premium if you work in your second shift. So the workers can work in two shifts. The first shift will be the normal pricing, and the second shift will become 50% premium. So, what you have to keep in mind is you don't want to utilize 100% of your second shift because it will be expensive. You need to make sure that it doesn't cross around, I would say, 50 to 60. And then you will lose points if you do not use your second shift at all. So, you need to manage your capacity so that you will utilize some of the second shift and not make it zero. And then we have labor cost, material costs. These two, you need to manage this by having your capacity right and your automation right. And then comes your total unit costs. It's again dependent on labor costs and material costs. Now let's talk about the automation. So, what I would advise for you to do for automation is for the acre product, that is your low end product, you want to keep your automation high in the very first round. Make it 10, and if that's not possible, make it 9 at least, and then you do not touch it for the entire 8 rounds. So, in your first round, if you're seeing this video before your first round, make it 10 and don't touch it once again. Initially, you have to make your uh, traditional product, which is able at around 4, and then keep this at 10, and then keep the other three products, Adam, Aft, and Agape, in around 3, 3, and 3. In the third round, what I made my automation, gradually you want to increase the automation, but mind you that increasing the automation will cost you more, and the automation will be available only in the future upcoming round. It won't reflect in the same round. Okay, and now in the fifth round or the sixth round, it was around 6.5, 10, 4.5, 4.5, and then 4.5. And then at the end of eighth round, my automation looked like 6.5, 10, 4.5, 5, and 5. So this is what you need to do with your automation. But this is just a trick, this is just a tip. It's not a hard and fast rule, or it's not a formula, or it's not a rule. Keep in mind that first shift capacity into 2, first shift capacity, if this value into 2 will be the value, the units that can be manufactured in this round. So you need to plan your buy and sell capacity according to that. So your buy and sell capacity, the sell will be reflected in the same year. The buy will be reflected in the next year. For example, imagine you have a machinery in your factory and you sell it. You immediately receive the money, and you want to buy a capacity, that is you want to buy a machinery, you will do the payment now, but you will get the machine next year. That is the rule. You can click on the I and read it for yourself. So you need to make plan for your next round in this round. So you have to foresee the future, and you need to take the decisions for buy or sell capacity. Let's try to calculate how we do this. Okay, so now let's go over how to decide the buy or sell capacity. You need to look at the first shift capacity, what you have, and calculate the buy or sell capacity for your next round. So whatever you buy or sell will be reflected on the next round, so you can use it for your next round. So let's start with the calculation for the product able. Here I've pulled up my capstone courier of round 6, and I've opened the traditional segment, and let's calculate it. So you need to take the total industry unit demand and multiply it with next year's segment growth rate. As I've shown here, it is 9769 multiplied by 92%, which is 0.092. It's giving me 898.748. And I've taken the same number here, 898.748, and added with total industry unit demand. So plus 9769, which is going to give me around 10,667.748. Okay, so you need to calculate the capacity for the next round, right? So what you need to do is repeat this whole process by keeping this number as your total industry unit demand. So let's keep this and multiply it again by the same number, which is given over here, 9.2%, which is 0.092, and this is going to give me. Okay, so this is going to give me around 982. Okay, so I'm gonna take 982 and add it with 10,667, which is going to give me around 11,659. And this 11,659, you need to multiply it by this potential share market units of your traditional product, assuming that it will be the same for your next year as well for the able. So I'm going to multiply it with 0.1. 198. So 2308. So I'm assuming that 2308 will be the production I'll be doing for the next year. Going back to this screen, we will see here that first shift capacity here is 1700. So if we use 1700 in the first shift and use almost the same in the second shift, we will go way overboard when our calculated capacity or the calculated estimation is 2308. So this is more than sufficient. I do not want to add capacity, nor do I want to sell it. But in acre, you can see with the same calculations of approximately added a capacity of 600 here. Please use the same calculation for everything. And if you feel your first shift capacity is too much, you can sell the capacity by putting a minus sign over here. Please keep in mind that in some rounds there could be a change in potential market share units, and there will definitely be a change in next year's segment growth rate, which might not be 9.2, but it's just an approximation we are keeping for the calculation. Nothing can be calculated 100% accurately in any business. So sometimes it can become negative in some rounds, and sometimes it could become zero or way above 9.2%. So do your research depending on your class, depending on your project, how it might be. Also, you can see the complement workforce. I would not touch this. I would keep it 130 throughout the simulation through all the rounds. Okay, you've come to the end of this video. If you have mastered production, I think you've mastered the entire simulation. And good luck. Hope you like this video. Hope it's useful. And I don't think you will be getting any kind of explanation like this throughout YouTube. So please support me, subscribe, like the video, and share it with your friends, whoever's doing capstone, so that it'll be some of some help to them. Thank you very much. Good luck.